Good morning, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. I feel like I've worn the same shirt in like every video, so I promise I do have other clothes. I've just been loving this green color. It's literally just this crop tank that I got from Target, $5. So sorry that you see this same shirt in every video. Also, my hair is like extremely disheveled today, but we're just gonna roll with it. Today I have a very sad update for my No Pan Left Behind project. April was not a great month in terms of completing palettes No Pan Left Behind style, but I will take it. I feel like I had a fun April. I traveled some in April, and I'm feeling just like reinvigorated, remotivated, and re-inspired to sit down and have some fun with my makeup collection throughout the month of May. We'll see what happens in May. Hopefully I can complete more than 3 palettes, which is all I have to share with you guys today, and only one of those was part of like my rotation of palettes that I was focused on. I do have one palette that I have decided will be getting decluttered when I do my next palette declutter, which I believe will be at the end of June, but it's not the most exciting today. I would love to know before we start what palette, if you remember, or even if you don't, just take a few guesses as to any palette you think that maybe I completed this month. It's not exciting, but if you want to see my progress as well as the new palettes that will enter this project, there will be, as I said, one declutter and one palette that I did complete as part of this project. So we have 2 roll-ins today. Stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content, palette themed content, or just chit-chatting about makeup, I'd love for you to consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna start with the 2 palettes that I completed that were not a part of this project. With the 3 palettes total that I completed in the month of April, I am at 33 total palettes in my collection, completed No Pan Left Behind style. If you're wanting more information, check my description box. I have things like the total number of pans that I've hit, total number of completed eyeshadow shades. It's not exciting this year, but there's more information in the description box if you're wanting maybe some like data and stats. I'm not 100% sure of my total number of palettes in my collection with all of the new eyeshadow palettes that I have, but itsjustSteph, please pop that on the screen right now at the percentage of palettes completed in my collection No Pan Left Behind style this year. I'm assuming it's not super exciting, but that's okay. All right, the 2 palettes that I have completed No Pan Left Behind style, I have the Lawless, the Glam one eyeshadow palette. I just kind of busted this out to use. This is a very like work appropriate palette in my opinion, and I figured it would be an easy little 8-pan eyeshadow palette to complete, so that is what I did. I will also post some pictures over here. I'm so sorry I didn't do that in the last No Pan Left Behind update, but I will post some pictures over here of looks that I've created and pictures that I've taken with the palettes. I was kind of thinking like, should I declutter this palette? Should I keep it? But I am going to end up keeping it. It's my only remaining Lawless eyeshadow palette currently in my collection. I just feel like the Lawless eyeshadow formula can be pretty hit or miss. I don't think this is like the most earth-shattering palette of all time, but I also do like the looks that I created with this, and it's a really easy palette to reach for if I just kind of want like no brain power makeup. This is what I can reach into. So this one is officially complete, and then this is one of the new eyeshadow palettes to my collection that I have finally completed, so you'll see this in an upcoming palette ranking video. But this is the Oden's Eye Mighty Monster eyeshadow palette. This is what this one is looking like, and I will say overall I did enjoy my experience with this eyeshadow palette. I liked the looks that I created. I actually have this shade on right now as a nail polish, and I do really like the way that that looks as a polish. I think Oden's Eye, I feel like they had like a peak when they released like their Christmas and Christmas Eve palettes. I also really liked the Hella 2 collection last year, but I feel like some of their releases, I haven't been as impressed with their matte formula. And like specifically with this red shade, it took so much building, so I was a little bit frustrated with that. And I've just noticed as I've tested more of my Oden's Eye palettes, there is some matte shadows that I'm just like I feel like we could improve the quality just a little bit. But I did create some looks that I really enjoyed with this, and I'm excited to continue to reach in. I love Oden's Eye has some really unique like shimmer or duochrome shades, and I love the Oden's Eye palettes for those. So I know I'll continue to reach into this. I could see myself getting a ton of use out of the shade Glow Vortex on the inner corner. Maybe that's a shade I can try and hit a pan on this year. But this is another No Pan Left Behind complete. So that brings us to the 6 palettes that are actually in this project. We can start with the least exciting progress. Yes, you guys, I still have yet to reach into the Glam Light Cake palette. This one has been in since the introduction. Not one shade. I don't believe I've reached into the, or maybe one shade. I'd have to flip back through. I don't think even one shade. So maybe my goal is just to create like 2 looks with this palette by the next update. Like, I feel like I should tell myself if I have not created, especially now that we're into like warmer weather, and I feel like, you know what, girl, like you can reach into this. We're not in like, you're not looking outside and seeing all the dead colors of winter. Like, we can reach into color and have fun. So I think maybe I'm gonna tell myself if I have not created 2 looks with this palette or reached into this 2 times by the next update, I have to declutter this palette. So it will motivate me to actually reach for this, because I do like having this palette in my collection for those moments that I want these really bright colors. So not exciting there. These 2 palettes both rolled in last update. I didn't reach for them at all. Again, I really did not reach for a ton of different eyeshadow palettes throughout the month of April, but I have the Sigma Cordosa eyeshadow palette, which I actually do really enjoy this eyeshadow palette. It is my favorite palette from Sigma, and it's a really beautiful color story, especially for, I was thinking like warmer weather. I feel like this could be a really fun one for May. Perhaps I'll bust this out on like Cinco de Mayo. I feel like I could create a really, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to do that. This is gonna be my Cinco de Mayo palette, so you'll at least see hopefully some use on this next update. And then also my Dominique Cosmetics Latte palette. There was a couple days I was planning to reach into this, then I just reached into like my Tartelette in Bloom, because I was on a Tartelette in Bloom kick this past month. But this is something I am going to be heavily focused on completing for the next update as well, just because this is a really easy palette to create work appropriate looks with, in my opinion. And I always tell myself like I can declutter this palette, but then I use it and I'm reminded of just how good of quality this is. And even though they're like basic everyday shades, sometimes basic is the best. So no progress on this, but this has to be a rollout next update. This should be an easy one for me to roll out. Okay, next we can talk about my declutter next. The BH Cosmetics 90s Dance Remix palette. I went to play with this one day, put like 2 shades on my eyes, and I think they were neutral shades I put on my eyes. And I absolutely hated the way that they were blending. Like, I don't know if this is just older, so the quality has declined so significantly. It makes me a little bit sad, because I did really used to enjoy this eyeshadow palette, but I just haven't been excited to reach for this. And I literally wiped my eyes off and started over, and then I was like, I'm done with the palette. So I have so many eyeshadow palettes in my collection. I do still get so excited to test and try new palettes, especially as I have been diving more into the world of indie. So if there's a palette that I'm not super excited about, I'm just gonna declutter it. It's no longer bringing me joy. It's no longer fun to use. So this one will be getting decluttered. So we will replace this palette with a palette. And this was actually the one, so each month I have 5 eyeshadow palettes that I randomly generate to use, and then I have 1 palette I choose for myself. This is one that I selected for myself, so I will select, I already know the palette that I'm picking. I will select a palette myself to work on at the end of this video. This palette I have reached into. This is my Colourpop Getting Fresh palette. I reached into this one time, and the shades that I reached for in this palette, I reached for this shade right here, this very neutral boring shade. Then I also reached into the shade Slick, the shade More and More, as well as Catch Feelings. And then I also reached into the shade Open, as well as Funny Story. And I hope I can't remember if I took a picture with this look. This is like the one that I'm like, oh, I feel like I forgot. But if I have a picture, I will post it over here. I am kind of trying to decide like if I want to just depot some of these shades, if I just want to keep the whole thing. I can't even really remember the look that I created or how I felt about the shade. So I'm hoping I have a picture with it, but we still have so many more shades to use within this palette. I feel like Open looks really pretty in the pan, then I like can't even remember how it was on the eyes. Like, do I feel like I need to keep that shade? I don't know. Same with the shade Slick, looks really beautiful in the pan, but did I like it on my eyes? I can't even remember, because I used this palette at the beginning of the month. I don't know if this will be a rollout next update just because there's so many shades in it, but I'm hoping to at least have reached into this a few more times and completed a couple more shades in the palette. But this one will also stay in the project, which brings us to the one palette that I was able to complete this month, and it is the What's Up Beauty Dragon Eye palette. I was so excited when this rolled into this project because I personally love the What's Up Beauty palettes. All three of the palettes that they've released I think are excellent. I really enjoy both their matte formula as well as their shimmer or special shades. I believe I created either 3 or 4 looks using this eyeshadow palette, so whatever I have I will post over here. And even like reaching into this, I'm like, okay, there's so many shades I want to continue to reach into, like the shade Fly. Again, maybe I'll try and focus on this as a shade that I can hit pan on in my inner corner. Although I don't heavily focus on panning eyeshadows anymore, I still get joy out of panning shadows. And I'm only at 4 eyeshadow pans this year. I've also completed 1 eyeshadow pan. But I like, you know, I'd like to hit maybe even like 10 eyeshadow pans hit in the year. So Fly is just such a beautiful shade and such a beautiful inner corner highlight. But I also really love Fierce, Fire, Magic, even Scales. There's so many fun shades in this palette. So this is officially a complete palette, but I anticipate I will continue to reach into this one throughout the year. But that is going to bring us to the portion of this video where I'm going to roll in one random palette, and then I'm also going to randomly select a palette for myself. Okay, so I have my Tiny Decisions app. Should I turn the noise on for funsies? Yes, let's do it. All right. What is the random palette we're gonna get? I'm a wee bit nervous. Please be an easy one. Ooh, Moira Fun is in the air. Okay, I feel like that's like a good time of year for this palette to get pulled out, but I'm not super excited about it. So let me go grab the palettes we're gonna be working on and I'll be right back. Okay, we can start with the Moira Fun is in the Air eyeshadow palette. This is what this one is looking like. I really enjoyed last summer creating a couple of really fun looks where I just took these really bright matte shadows and put them on the inner corner and then did like a wing. And there's one specific look I did last year with this shade on the inner corner and a wing, and then I matched it with like a bright neon yellow shirt, and I absolutely loved that look. One of my favorites of 2023. But aside from like these 2 shades and the cobalt blue, I'm like, I don't really think I care all that much about this eyeshadow palette. So maybe I'll no pan left behind this and decide, like, can I just depot a couple of the shades and then get rid of this really bulky packaging. It is quite bulky. It's cute, but it's very bulky. And I also just, there's a couple of shades sprinkled throughout this that I'm just like, like, why do we have this like very cool toned neutral? Like, I feel like we should have done something like, I don't know. I also am not impressed at all with the like shimmer quality of this palette. So this will be good. This will be good. This will be a good moment for me to decide whether or not this is worth keeping. If I don't keep it, I guarantee I will try and, like, I don't know how to destroy this packaging. I'll try and destroy the packaging and keep some of these shades, or if I need to try and put them. My nervousness with putting like a matte shadow or repotting a matte shadow into like a single magnetic pan is that it's not going to, like, the formula is going to change. I just get so nervous about that. But I do definitely, if anything, want to keep the neon yellow matte. So this one is rolling in. We'll see if this can be a rollout for the next update. I'm not sure. And then the palette that I'm selecting for myself to no pan left behind is the Tiny Marvels palette from Sydney Grace in collaboration with Mel Thompson. This is such a beautiful eyeshadow palette, and I feel like I just, like, this is like a prized possession in my makeup collection. So I do that thing where I feel like I can only reach for this palette on very special occasions, but then for some reason I'm always reaching for like Pat McGrath Bronze Seduction or Natasha Denona Gold. And this palette just like gets so neglected. So I feel like this is the perfect time of year to reach for this. There are some really fun like pastels in here for springtime, but then there's some really intense, really beautiful like metallic shades. I'm very excited about the blue bronze shade up here. So I am very hopeful that this is going to be a rollout next update, because I'm very excited to see what looks I'm going to create with this palette. I feel like I've never sat down with this palette and just try to be like creatively inspired by this palette alone. So I'm really excited about this one. But that is this very short and sweet update for my No Pan Left Behind for the month of April, recapping April. I would love to know in the comments below if you No Pan Left Behind did anything this past month. What are you feeling inspired by in your collection? What palettes are you most wanting to see me roll out next update? Let me know in the comments. Other than that, that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch and for supporting me and my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.